Hello guys, welcome to Salesforce Troop, and today we'll build a reusable utility to generate CSV in LWC. So for our utility, the JSON will be our input data type, and we'll write some code in our LWC, and once it's processed in a proper CSV format, it will download the CSV file. So this utility will work independent whether it's a data table, it's a list element, or whether the data is visible or not. As soon as you pass the proper data in the JSON format to the utility, it will generate the CSV, and it's very easily configurable. You can change the headings, everything in the CSV file. So let's go and see how we can build that. So I'm in my VS Code now. So first step is to create a LWC component. So let's go to the command palette, create a new component. I'll give this name as CSV demo component. So let's create this component. So now our component is ready. Just let's add the lightning card quickly. So lightning card will give the title JSON to CS, or I'll say CSV utility demo. I'll close the card. This just gives us a card look and feel. And apart from that, we'll keep it as it is for time being. We'll add the meta configuration, and for meta configuration we are just targeting only the lightning app page. Based on your need, you can add the more targets. I'll change the is exposed to true so that my component is visible in the app builder. And apart from that, what I can do is let's create some dummy data for time being. I'll show you the real integration with Apex while downloading the CSV, but before doing that, let's try to use some dummy data. Okay, and let's create a property here. We'll say user data, and I'll give some properties to this user data array of object. I'll say username Nikhil. I'll say age 25, and apart from that I'll say title something developer. And likewise we can create couple of more objects. So I'll just do the copy paste, nothing fancy. I'm just changing this age to numeric instead of quotes. So I have 3 records now. First username Nikhil, second username Salesforce Troop, third username is friends. Let's show this on the HTML. For that we can quickly write our loop for each loop, and for each loop runs on the template tag. So I'll say for each we want to run the loop on the property user data, and then we'll say each item, like for item we call the each item as, I'll say user, and here we'll just within the div we're gonna print that details. I'll say within the p tag I'll say user dot username, and then I'll say user dot age, and we'll put comma, and we'll say user dot title. So these are the 3 properties we have. We are getting the error because in for each loop we have to pass the key property, and I'll say user dot name, username is always be unique, so I'll use the key as user dot username. And let's deploy this for org, and now it's deployed. Let's go to our page. So I already create a new page, random demos, in my org. I'll edit the page and I'll place my component to this page. Till now we haven't wrote any code specific to CSV, but we are just setting up the code base so that we can visualize better. And my component name is CSV demo. So I searched on the left hand side and I moved my component to the canvas area. I hit save, Let's go back. I haven't applied any CSS or any SLDS class to make it more beautiful, but now you can see the data is coming like Nikhil is 25 developer, the name user, the Salesforce group, is 2 and YouTube channel, then third record is name friends, is 20 and Netflix series. So this data I want to dump into a CSV on click of a button. Okay, so let's go to first our VS Code and create the button quickly. And to create the button, we can create the button below the list. So I'll say lightning button. I'll say variant brand label. I'll say download user data, and I'll add the click handler as well. Download user details, and I close this tag, and now I'll go to my JS file, and below this I'll create the method, and this method will print console.log download triggered. That's it. So whenever we click on the button, it should call this method, and here we'll write our logic to print or generate the CSV that will dump this data into the CSV. So now let's deploy quickly and see our button is visible or not. I can write the whole logic here, but that's not going to solve my purpose, because in real time at one page you may want to generate the CSV of accounts records, or at another page you want the contact records or opportunity records, lead records. We want a reusable way, so we will create a utility that you can use in any of the page, any number of time. It will behave exactly the same in all the places. So let's quickly go to our page and just see whether our button is visible on the screen or not. Let's refresh it again, and now our button is visible. So what our first step, our first challenge is to, on click of this button, we want to dump this data into the CSV format. CSV is the comma separated document basically. Okay, so if we able to put the comma in the data in the JSON basically, and be able to write some JavaScript that can create dynamically a CSV file and download it automatically, that logic we need to write in our utility. So let's go and create the utility. So today you will learn how to create a utility method basically in the LWC. For that you need to go to command palette and create another lightning web component. We'll call it as utils. You can give any name based on your naming convention. So now util component is ready. So first of all, you just delete the HTML file. We don't need this. So I'll do the right click and delete the HTML file, move it to bin, and let's write our code in the JS. Go to the util.js and clean everything that is present under the JS file. Now this is our utility file, and here we're gonna create our function. So let's start creating that. So let's give our function name here, function export CSV file. This is my function name, and from this file we want this method to be exposed, so we'll add the attribute export. So this function will be available in the any other component, so we put the export. Now to generate a CSV we need couple of things. First is the headers, what all headers you want to show on the first line of your CSV file basically. Then the total data. Total data is nothing, the data that you want to dump in the CSV file basically. And the third one is the file title, what name you want to give to your file while generating the CSV. Okay, sometime we need account records.csv. Sometime if the record data is related to context, we want to give the name as contact record.csv, like that. So now what we're gonna do is first we need to check if data is there or not. We will say if data is not there, it means the total data is not there, or there may be a chance that total data is an empty array or an object basically. So what we can do is another check here. Check if total data dot length is not there. If it is 0, then it will come inside. If any of the condition fail, it comes inside and it says return null. So immediately it will go out of this function. It will not perform anything below that. So not see if total length is empty array and dot length is 0 and not of 0 means true. So it will come inside the if statement. Okay. And similarly, if something not of null or not of undefined or not of empty quotes or anything comes that is a falsy value, not of falsy value become true and it comes inside and it returns immediately null. Okay, so this is the first check. We are making sure the data is coming inside. Second thing, as we already said, we are generating a utility that takes JSON as an input, right? But if you observe, JSON exactly means is your key, that is like username and value. Value can be in any format, whether it's a string or a data, but the key also should always be in the double quotes. But if you look at here in our data, we haven't give any codes to this. Still it's a valid data structure, but to make it valid JSON structure, it should be in the double quote. So what will do the catch here, what we'll do, we'll say whatever the data that is coming, just do the stringify operation on it. When we perform JSON.stringify, it generates the JSON in a proper structure. So we'll say whatever the total data that is coming, convert into the proper JSON and make it stringify, and we'll store this into a property JSON object. So we convert this into the JSON now. And what we'll do with the JSON, this is a stringify JSON right now. Okay. Now we'll write another method that will convert this JSON or stringify JSON to a CSV structure. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create, say, convert to CSV method, and that will take this JSON object as an input, and we'll pass the headers as well to that method. This method gets called up, we'll write the method below, and what we're gonna do is here we're gonna first we'll catch the JSON object. I'll give this name as object obj array, it's for short form, and the second is the headers we are getting. Now here I want to generate a structure. Suppose I'll copy this data here, and I want to create I want this method to convert this data into a format like username, age, and title. Then it should go to the next line and it will use the values of respective data like 25 developer. Then it will go to the next line, it says Salesforce group, then comma 2 comma YouTube channel, like this. This is the actual the CSV structure. CSV only understand if your data is properly formatted. First line is always be your header, and the second line onward all your data should be in the same order, like first comma separation always be username, the second is always be your age, third always be your title, and each comma will consider as a separate column in the CSV file. So we want to generate this sort of structure from this JSON. Okay, so what we can do here is I'll just close that user data. So first we'll say we'll create some constants. We'll say column delimiter, and I'll say column delimiter means what, basically the symbol that we're going to use to tell our CSV function this is the comma and this means it's us individual column. Okay, so comma tells okay this is a end of the column, jump to the next column. Then the another symbol we're gonna use is line delimiter, and here I'm using return heritage and /n. /r will tell programmatically go to the start of the line, and /n tells go to the next line basically. So what we are trying to we are using these two characters to tell okay now end of the line is there and go to the next line starting basically. Okay, line delimiter we're gonna use this symbol. Now the next thing, it should be a function basically. Okay, so now we define our two symbols that will tell okay when to change the column and when to change the line basically. Then I want first row to be header, and I want to pass the header from the actual component, and header should always be in a way. Let's create a header here. So we'll create a property called headers, and it should always be an object in a way. Key always be your exact property that is available in your data, and the value should be the way you want to show on the header basically. So on the downloaded CSV I want to show user name with the space. Okay, this is a good example, but in the data it is small username. Similarly, the next key we want to show is the age. On the screen we want to show capital A and G, and the third property is title, and on the downloaded CSV I want to show it as a title. So this is how we're gonna pass our header. The reason for this, maximum time you want to show the custom header, that's why we are passing the data in this format. So once this data will be available here as a header in our util, what we're gonna do is first we will extract all the keys that will be our exact actual keys. So what I can do is I'll create another property here, const actual header key, and actual header key I'll say object dot keys, and I'll take the headers. So what it will do, it takes all the key and store in a form of array. So it will store it like this: username, then age, then title. So this method will generate this output basically, and this output will store in a property actual key. Okay, similarly we want all the actual what we say the name to show on the CSV. So I'll create another variable header to show, and I'll say object dot values, and take all the headers value and store it into a header to show. All the values are shows in the header to show, and all the keys are stored into the actual header key. Now we have done all the things. Now at the end, CSV data is a single string basically. So we'll initialize a property string, initialize it with the empty string, and then what we want to do is first data should always be our headers, that is username, age, and title. So what we can do is we'll say string str basically str plus equal to, this is the shorthand assignment, we'll say header to show. These are the keys username, age, and title. We are appending to the string in the starting, and we are using a join method because join method convert array to the string, and we want to join it using the column delimiter. So it will join that string, and then what we'll do immediately once it's joined, immediately append our line delimiter. So what it will do is it will take so I'll give you an example basically. So here it will form the data like this, like this and like this. So this is what it's stored in our header to show. And once it comes here to this line, what it will do, it will convert it into this form basically. Username, because we are converting the array to a string using a join method, and we are joining it using a comma, right? So it will form in this way, and immediately once it reaches to this line, the output will become like this. So the lines end and it go to the starting, basically the string. Okay, so now we are done with our header. Now we have to do some logic for our rest of the data that we want to dump. So what we can do is, first we'll quickly check before running it as a best practice whether the data is a form of array or not, or object basically, not array, object basically we can check, because data type of array is an object. So we'll say type of obj array that is coming to this method. We'll say if it's not equal to object, and definitely it will not be of type object because we are converting it into the stringify format. What we'll do is, once it comes here, convert into the object. And many people might think why we are doing it in stringify. Stringify generate the object in a proper JSON structure automatically with the double quotes to the key. That's why we are converting it here and parsing back to a proper JSON here. And we'll say if it's not an object, use the data as it is. This is a best practice to check that the data is in a correct structure. And now what we're going to do is we'll run our loop data.forEach. We'll say each property as an object, and I'll start each line. Now each line we're going to say each line start with the empty string. And now what we're going to do is we're going to run our loop on the all header key basically. We'll say run, go to the each key, and I'll say each key as a key property. And within the key, first we will check if line is not equal to empty. So it means something is not already there. If something is not already there, it means something is already there, right? So not equal to means something is already there, then only append the comma. And to append the comma, we're gonna use the same trick, line plus equal to column delimiter. Otherwise we'll go next. If it's not there, we'll say we'll do line plus equal to obj of key. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm doing it here now. So the object key comes as this way basically. Object keys are username, age and title. So the loop is running for username, age, title. So once the loop runs, it takes key as username first. It will come obj is nothing, it's the whole data basically, each object. So for this, the username is Nikhil. It takes Nikhil and append it to the line. Okay, so the line initially will get like this, Nikhil. Next time the loop runs, it say okay, line already had something, put the comma here, go to the second key, age, go to the object, age is 25, it takes 25. Like this it will form the line. Okay, so this is how we are generating it. And then what we're gonna do is we'll say string equal to line. Basically we are just appending the line that is generating outside of each object back to the string, and to that string we are adding our line delimiter. So it means once the each object or the each line forms successfully, break the line, again start the loop with that different line. So like this we're gonna do, and outside the loop we're gonna return our str. And to understand that, what we can do is just to visualize it, we can put the console here to see what kind of str is coming. So now our method, which is converting the data into a proper CSV structure, is ready. And we'll go back, we'll remove this data. So this is returning something, so we need to cache the data. And to cache the data, what we can do is we can create a property. We'll say const result equal to the method, so whatever it comes, we'll store it in a property result. And now first we'll check if result equal to null. If result is null, just return immediately, don't go further. But if that result is there, then what we're gonna do, we'll create a blob structure. So I'll create a property blob equal to new blob, and it will generate the blob. Blob is a constructor basically, and it will receive the result that we have formed. Now the blob data is ready and it's stored in the blob property. And then we'll generate the file name. So we can say export constant exported file name. The file name is coming from the component, so we'll say whatever the file name is coming, just append .csv to that file. So if you say nikhil.csv will form. If the user didn't pass anything basically here, so what we can do is we can check and do this. If file title is there, generate this. Otherwise the default file name always be export.csv. Okay, and we can, this is a exported file name. So the file name is ready, blob is ready. Now we have to write a logic to download it. And to download it, we'll create a anchor tag on the fly using JavaScript. So I'll say link equal to document dot create element. I'm creating an element of type A, so it's an anchor tag. The link is ready. I'll just check the feature detection basically just to make sure it's a HTML5 and the download property is available. So I'll say link dot download is not equal to undefined. If it's not, it means download property has an empty string, it means the download property is available. So I'll say okay, create a URL here using the method URL dot create object URL, and here we pass our blob. So it will generate the stream, a single URL of the data stream, and we'll use that URL and say link dot set attribute. What attribute we want to pass, we'll say href. Href is the link where we pass our URL, and we'll map that URL that we have generated. And then we'll add the another attribute using set attribute. We'll say download. Download attribute is very important to download the file, and we'll say the download attribute takes the file name. So we'll say whatever you download, use this file name with the downloading. And then we want this anchor tag not to be shown on the screen, so we'll make this style.visibility hidden. This is a CSS part here. So we are creating an element, but that element will not be visible on the screen. And once element is ready, what we're gonna do is we'll say document dot body dot append child, and we'll append that child to our body as a link. Once it's append to the, what we say, to a body tag, what we're gonna do is we'll click it programmatically. So I'll say click that link that is generated, and once the click is done, just remove that element from the body tag. Okay, so I'll say remove dot child link. So our utility function is ready. So let's call this function into our, what is a component. Let's go back to our component. First I'll show you how to import that. to import that, you'll say your method name that you are exporting there. So our method is export CSV file, and it's not a default export, so it's a name export. So we are using a curly bracket here, and I'm saying from, and the from, it should be c hyphen c slash your component name, that is utils. Okay, so it will go to the component utils and fetch that method. And on click of this, what I'm gonna do is I'll say, okay, call this method, and we already know this method expects header, total data, and file title. So I'll pass the header as this dot headers. Then we want the data to be passed, so I'll say this dot user data, and the third thing is the file name, so I'll say user details as my file name. And let's deploy first our util function. And now util function is deployed. Let's deploy our CSV demo component as well. So now both component is deployed. Let's go to our page, refresh the page. And now I refresh the page. Let's click on download user data. And let's see, nothing happening right now. Let's go and debug it. Let's go to console. It's showing the download triggered. That's good. Let's go to the source and say our file name is utils there. And I'm showing you how to do the debugging as well here. It's a different file. This is that file, exact one. Just see whether this is calling on click of this. It's calling perfectly, and it's receiving the data in a proper format. Yes, and the file name is correct. Let's see till where it's coming correctly. It's stopping before this. Let's click it once again. We'll do one by one next line. It's failing at the headers, so let's quickly see whether we are passing the correct thing there. The header comes, it's headers, and I have given a header here. It was failing here, so let's deploy this again. It's deployed. Let's go back, refresh the page. So I refresh the page. Let me close debugger. Let's hit the download user data. Let's hit save. It's downloaded the file. Let's open the file. And now you can see that on the top, the file name is coming user details. And here you can see our data is coming perfectly. The username with the user space name, then age, and then title. I can expand this. So the title is also all capital, that the way we are passing, and the data is mapped correctly. Okay, so this is how we build the reusable utility. Now to confirm it's a reusable way, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call a apex method, fetch the data, and dump the data to our utility and see if that is generating perfectly or not. Okay, so let's go to our VS Code. I zoomed it a little bit. So right now I'll not touch anything here, and I'll go to classes. Here I already have written the basic query, or created a method get accounts, and this is the basic query I have written. Select ID, name, annual revenue, industry, phone from account, and I'm creating a method named get accounts, and the controller name is table controller. I already built that, so I'll not create this class again. We're gonna use the same class. So let's go to our component, that name is CSV demo, and on the top we'll call that method. So we'll say first we need to import get accounts. That's the method name. From @salesforce apex slash table controller dot method name. So method name is get accounts. To call the method on load, we'll use the wire service. So let's import the wire, and the top we can say @wire, and to do that we'll use the wire as a function so that I can show you guys the data format that is coming. So get accounts, and we'll create the function name. I'll say property function, or I'll say account function. Basically account handler, I can give account handler will extract the data, and I'll say if data is there, then print the data. I'm not doing any error handling right now because this tutorial is not related to how I'm going to handle the error handling, but what we are trying to do is we'll call the apex method. Apex method will bring the data and will print the data first. Okay, I close this out. Let's deploy this. Now what we're gonna check is whether our data is coming correctly from the apex method or not. You can pause the video, you can type the code as it is, it will work out. So it's deploying right now. So the component is deployed. Let's go to our org, refresh the page. The page is refreshed. On load, we were calling the get account method, so it should have print some data here. Now you can see it's printing the data, and to confirm the data is printing from the correct component, you can see the component name here, CSV demo. Let's open the data. So it has the 15 records. What I'm gonna do here is I'll copy the first record just to get the key name and value. Let's go to our VS Code, and now we're gonna structure it in the way we want. What we can do here is first I'll print copy paste the data as it is just to understand what is the key name that is coming. And now using this data, I'm gonna build our another headers for the account. So I'll create a property headers, account headers, I can say account headers, and the account headers we want is key name. I want name, and it should be on the screen as name only. Then I want annual revenue, and on the screen I want it as annual space revenue. Then I want industry as a property, and on the screen I want it as industry only. I want it as a phone, and on the screen I want it as a phone only, and I'll use that ID. In the starting only we'll add the ID, and we'll say I want to show it as a record ID on the screen. So our header is ready. So these are the key that is coming from the data, and these are the values that we want to show on as a header, and the data is coming here. So let's store this data into a property. So let's create a property here, account data, and what I'm gonna do here is whatever the data is coming, I'll store it into the account data property. Now the data will be stored here. Headers are ready. We'll go here and create another button, and I'll say this button as download account data, and I'll say download account data as the method name, and we'll copy this and create another method here, the same name, download account data. We'll use the same method. Now you see how easy it is to write the same, calling the same method, just you need to map. The headers are account headers, data is the account data, and I want accounts details .csv as my file name. So we haven't touched anything in the utils. So let's deploy this. Right now the file will download correctly, but there will be a problem now. I intentionally put that thing for you guys. So I'll show you that what the problem gonna come, because in the few names like this one, this string itself has a comma, and comma means for CSV is a separate column, but these details are the single details. So while generating the data, or while processing the data, we have to remove all the commas from the data, but we'll do that. Let's see first our file is generating for the accounts or not. So let's refresh the page. Now our second button is ready, so let's click this button, and now you see the string format is generated. It's downloading with the name account details. Let's hit save. So the CSV is downloaded. Let's open the file, and let's me expand it a little bit. Now you see these two files. I don't know how to zoom this. Yeah, it's zooming. So now if you see United Oil and Gas, comma UK was there, but as soon as the processing saw there is a comma, it put the UK into another column, and that spoil our structure of the file, right? So we need to handle this basically. So what we're gonna do, we go to our util file, and we'll say wherever we are creating this, here we'll do replace the string always with the means replace comma with the empty string basically. Okay, what we can do here is, let's create another property called string item, and I'll say convert that string, that is we are generating object.key to a string, because replace or works on the string, so we are explicitly converting into string. Even if it's a string, that's okay, but if it's not a string, it become a string here. And then what we're gonna do is first check whether the string is there or not. If it's there, then run the replace method, and this method gonna replace your comma, and replace will take back slash the comma slash g. Slash g means globally in the whole string basically, wherever the comma comes, replace it with the empty string. Okay, if its string is not there, just use as it is whatever it's coming, and let's deploy this. So now what will happen, whenever the UK oil string comes, it replaces the comma and it generates a single string. So the component is deployed. Let's go back to our page, refresh the page, and let's hit the download account, save. Let's open it again. Now one thing to observe, now the name is account detail bracket 1, so it automatically handling the naming convention if the same file is already available in that folder. So now I'll just expand the rows now, columns, and now you can see everything is aligned properly in the columns. So this is how we generate CSV in LWC. Now I have another things to explain, that are like in real time the challenges come, the client want your CSV to generate in the IE, or nowadays everything is responsive, so we want to generate the CSV file in the tablets or iOS separately. So let's go to our VS Code and write some small things in our utilities that will make sure our download works in IE as well as in our what we say iPad or iPod or something. So what I'll do is, whenever our file is ready, so first I'll check OK. Navigator is a method, the global method basically, global object, not the method, global object, and we'll say ms save blob. So whether this navigator has this property, if yes, then it means it's a IE, and to save that we'll say navigator.ms MSA blob and take the blob that you want to download and give the file name. So this will automatically handle all the things for IE. Then we'll check if it's not an IE. Check navigator dot user agent dot match. User agent gives us the device type basically, and we'll check whether it's an iPhone or iPad. P is capital. iPhone, iPad or iPod. Then do this, otherwise run the remaining stuff that we have written. So I'll cut this and put inside the else. And now what we're gonna do here is we'll write for iPad especially, because I have faced this issue in real projects where the client wants the application data download in CSV from iPad as well. So we'll say we'll create the link here. Here we'll do window dot document dot create element. We are creating the element here with the window property. Document also work, but in Safari or iPad the window is necessary. We'll create href here, and here the trick is you need to assign a particular data format. I'll copy paste and I'll explain you. So the href should be data colon text slash CSV comma charset UTF-8, and then your result should be encoded URI. So this is another trick that you have to use. And after that you need to check link dot target equal to underscore blank. When you click on this, it will open a new window to download it. We'll use the download attribute, and the download attribute will take the same file name. Here we are assigning that file name, and in the end we'll say once the link is created, just click it. Here we haven't attached it to any body, so we don't need to remove it. So that's it you need to do. You can deploy it. Right now I don't have any way to test it right now, but my IE is not working. Okay, so but these are the hacks if you are looking for to support your download for IE, support your download for iPad and everything. So this is how it works, and this is how your utility function looks like. And you can see how easily with a single line now going forward you can download any kind of CSV file if your data is in a proper JSON. So that's it for this video, and if you guys have any doubt you can ask me in the comment box, and I hope this video will be helpful for you guys. And follow the video for the code. Nowadays I'm not sharing the code because people are more interested into code over the learning. Sorry for that, but you just follow it and I'm hopefully you able to achieve the same output. And please like, share and subscribe if you like my work, and thanks for your time.